Yes!
Triumphant Collector. This is one of the Gambit Prime role-oriented triumphs that you'll be required to complete in order to obtain a Reckoner seal. Fortunately, this one is a lot less of a headache than the other three for the simple fact that your one and only job is to bank motes, which is what both of the Gambit archetypes revolve around. Now, be advised that this triumph, like all of the other Gambit Prime role-oriented triumphs, can only be progressed and unlocked in Gambit Prime, and not regular Gambit. The Triumphant Collector triumph is split up into 5 separate parts that are all progressed at the same time, meaning that they aren't broken down into individual steps. They have to be completed one at a time or in any particular order. Progress towards this triumph will not count unless you have the Collector Aura, which is a white aura that appears above your Guardian's head. This aura will manifest once you have a certain amount of Gambit Prime Collector armor equipped to have access to the cashback perk, which is unlocked once your total perk points equal 10. Although it is possible to do this by mixing and matching illicit, outlaw, and notorious tiers of the armor, I would highly suggest grinding out the Reckoning and leveling up your synthesizer to the legendary rarity, in which it'll assume the name of Powerful Synthesizer, since this will allow you to craft notorious level Gambit Prime gear. Now, if you aren't familiar with the Reckoning game mode, I highly suggest that you watch my video titled What is the Reckoning to get an idea of how the game type works and what to do. I have a link of the What is the Reckoning video provided in the description box of this video. Now, I'm gonna go ahead and suggest that you stick with the character you're most familiar with and comfortable with, because the synthesizer is character specific and does not share amongst your entire account. This means that if you have a powerful synthesizer on your Warlock, for example, this won't have anything to do with your other 2 characters. But yeah, like I was saying before, once the white aura appears above your Guardian's head, it's time to become a professional mote hoarder. The 5 parts of this triumph consist of are the following: win 10 matches, deposit 1,000 motes, summon 100 small blockers, summon 40 giant blockers, and earn 15 half-banked medals. As a collector, it's pretty obvious that your number 1 goal is to hoard motes, but ad clear and survivability are just as important. I suggest running a build that focuses on recovery so that you aren't kept out of engagements for too long. A resilience-based build is a decent option as well, but recovery dictates the speed of your health and shield recovery, so I would suggest taking that route instead. Remember, if you're dying, you're either A, losing motes all the time, B, not alive to gather motes, or both, so stay alive. I'm a Warlock main, so fulfilling a collector role was a piece of cake because this class has a lot of healing capabilities, but the Hunter Exotic Helmet Wormhorse Crown and the perk known as Reversal from the Bottom Tree Striker skill path are some examples of great options for the other 2 classes that grant healing capabilities. But one of the more useful collector role perks will be Umbra Armor, which grants an overshield after you pick up 5 motes in rapid succession. Having an overshield combined with high recovery will most definitely keep you alive. Now, it really doesn't make a difference what weapons you decide to use, but if I had any suggestions, it would be shotguns over anything else. Shotguns have very high damage output, and perks such as Trench Barrel, Rampage, Swashbuckler, and 1-2 Punch will make short work of your enemies. Thanks to the cashback perk, it's possible to exclusively use a shotgun to clear ads, and I was able to do this frequently enough to the point where I hardly ever had to use my primary weapon. Cashback gives you free kinetic and energy ammo every time you bank motes, and since you will be doing a lot of that, you will never run out of special ammo. Okay, so now that we step past the fundamentals, let's take a look at each of the steps that you will have to complete in order to unlock this triumph. Now, when it comes to the steps that state that you have to bank 1,000 motes and summon 100 small blockers, it's easier to explain both of these steps at the same time. Banking 1,000 motes is something that'll happen over time, meaning that you won't have to go out of your way to get this step done. As for the 100 small blockers, all you gotta do is bank no more than 9 motes at a time, and you will always send a taken goblin over to the enemy side, which is also known as a small blocker. However, you need to bank at least 5 motes to summon one of these guys, but once again, if you bank more than 9 motes, you will summon a medium blocker at 10, a large blocker at 15, and a giant blocker at 20. And doing so will not progress this part of the triumph. It's always recommended to bank no more than 5 motes anyways, because small blockers are incredibly annoying based off the fact that they can make other taken enemies invincible. The part of this triumph that instructs you to summon 40 giant blockers isn't possible unless you have 15 collector role points. Doing so will unlock the final collector armor perk known as High Yield Savings, which states that you can carry up to 20 motes instead of 15, and depositing 20 motes at once sends a giant blocker to the enemy arena. Now, if you've never seen a giant blocker before, think of the final boss of the Lake of Shadow Strike, because they're exactly the same enemy. Giant blockers are huge taken cabal that have a ton of health and have the ability to summon taken orbs that can tether and suppress enemies within proximity. Yeah, you heard that right. So anybody intelligent enough to pop their super next to a giant blocker will immediately regret it, because these tethers behave the exact same as a Night Stalker tether in a sense that anybody ensnared by them moves incredibly slow and can't use their abilities. And once again, if you use your super next to one of these things, say goodbye to it, because it's gone now. Summoning giant blockers won't be easy though, because there's a hefty fee of 20 motes required to do so. Just do your best to stay alive and you'll be fine. Aside from having to summon 40 giant blockers, this part of the triumph will also take a huge chunk of time. However, the phrase medals earned is incredibly vague, so I'll explain what you have to do. Your one and only goal here is to achieve a medal known as half banked, which is awarded to you when you single-handedly bank 50 motes in a single round of Gambit Prime. You probably already realized that in order to summon a Primeval in Gambit Prime, you gotta bank 100 motes. And since 50 is half of 100, yeah, you get the picture. But to some extent, you can work on this part of the Triumph and summon the giant blockers at the same time. Since it takes 20 motes to summon a giant blocker, do this a second time and a third time. Or bank 10 motes the third time you bank, and you will easily be at 50. You have to bank a total of 50 motes in a single match of Gambit Prime, 15 different times. So prepare to invest a lot of time towards completing this. Alright everybody, that does it for this one. I hope that this guide was beneficial to you, and I hope that watching this video gets you one step closer to getting that Reckoner seal. Now if you made it to the end of this video, do me a favor and thumb rush to that like button until it turns blue. And if you're new to my neck of the woods, go ahead and subscribe to the channel and click that bell icon so you don't ever miss a video of the most elite gaming content. But with that being stated, 1LHD is over and out. Y'all take it easy.